He was born into chaos, raised by the streets, feared by the world. But behind the fists was a boy searching for love, discipline, and purpose. This is the untold story of Mike Tyson, the man who rose from nothing to greatness. Mike Tyson was born on June 30, 1966, in Brownsville, Brooklyn, one of the toughest neighborhoods in New York City. He grew up surrounded by poverty, crime, and violence. His father abandoned the family early, and his mother struggled to make ends meet. Tyson often said he didn't have a childhood, just survival. By the age of 13, he had been arrested more than 30 times for street fights, theft, and trouble. The world saw him as a criminal, but destiny saw him as a fighter. It was inside a juvenile detention center that his life began to change when a counselor saw his raw power and introduced him to a boxing trainer. That connection would lead him to D'Amato, the man who would transform a lost boy into a legend. D'Amato didn't just see a boxer, he saw potential. He saw a young man who could become the greatest heavyweight fighter of all time. Became a father figure, teaching Tyson that real strength comes from discipline and belief, not anger. Once said, "A hero and a coward both feel the same fear. It's what you do that makes the difference." Tyson listened. He trained harder than anyone, hours every day, no breaks, no excuses. He learned to control his emotions, to turn rage into precision and fear into focus. By the age of 18, Mike was already destroying opponents with lightning speed and brutal power. The world had never seen anything like him. And at just 20 years old, Mike Tyson became the youngest heavyweight champion in history. In the late 1980s, Mike Tyson was unstoppable. They called him Iron Mike. He didn't just win, he dominated, finishing fights in seconds. He had fame, money, power, and the world at his feet. But with fame came temptation and isolation. The same fire that made him unstoppable in the ring began to consume him outside it. He struggled to find peace. He had love, but also loss. He had wealth, but also emptiness. Behind the fierce fighter was a man who craved love from the parents he never had, and from the world that only cheered when he was winning. His marriage to actress Robin Givens ended painfully. He lost friends, trust, and even his sense of self. Tyson's life began to spiral: legal troubles, bad company, and public scandals. The man who once ruled the ring was now fighting his own demons. In 1992, Mike Tyson was sentenced to 6 years in prison. The world wrote him off. But Mike had one last fight left, not against an opponent, but against himself. Prison didn't break Mike Tyson, it rebuilt him. He studied philosophy, religion, and self-control. He began to understand who he really was: not a beast, but a man who had made mistakes. When he returned to the ring, he wasn't just a boxer, he was a symbol of resilience. But the fight wasn't only physical anymore, it was spiritual. Mike Tyson had learned that true greatness isn't about how hard you hit, but how many times you can rise after being knocked down. After retiring from boxing, Tyson began to reinvent himself. He turned his pain into wisdom, his aggression into art, and his story into inspiration. He acted in films, hosted podcasts, and even performed on Broadway. But above all, he spoke honestly about mental health, forgiveness, and redemption. Today, Mike Tyson isn't just a fighter. He's a philosopher, a father, and a teacher, a man who turned a violent past into a peaceful legacy. Mike Tyson's story is not just about boxing. It's about life itself, about falling, failing, and finding the courage to start again. He was knocked down by life, humiliated by the world, and betrayed by his own fame, but he stood up every time. Everyone has a plan, Tyson once said, until they get punched in the face. Life punched him harder than any opponent ever could, but he never stayed down. Mike Tyson is proof that no matter where you come from, no matter how many times you fall, you can still rise again. He was a warrior, a legend, a man who transformed his pain into power. This is Mike Tyson, the man who rose from nothing to greatness. Thanks for watching. If you were inspired by this story, please like this video and subscribe for more content just like it.